Welcome back now, and thanks for staying with us on the program. Right about now, we have a journalist with us in the studio with whom we are going to be doing the analysis to some of the headlines we have read to you. Welcome to the studio, Azeez Adesoka. You're welcome to the program.
Good morning, Nigerians across the globe. Thanks for having me.
It's good to have you, and I believe it's going to be a very beautiful session on the program today. When two journalists meet on the program and rub minds on issues around that are pertinent to the development of our dear country, Nigeria. And quite a lot has been happening in Nigeria over the past weeks, over the past months, and more pertinently, between February 25th till now, after the election, it looks like after the election and the winner of the election was announced, some Nigerians believe the winner was selected, but to some other Nigerians, they believe that Nigerians have spoken with their votes. And at some point, it looked like we won't get to that point where we'll be looking at the transition of power from President M.Buhari to the president-elect. At some point, it looked sacrosanct. And let's not forget that there's a judgment that's still pending for today, and everybody is keeping their fingers crossed to see where it goes. But then let's get started from let's start from the investiture yesterday, where the president-elect was conferred with the highest honors in Nigeria, where he was conferred with the award of the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. His vice was conferred with the Grand Commander of the Order of Niger. And during the president's speech, now the outgoing president, he said, after a good race, I have passed the baton. Now let's get started. After 8 years, can we honestly say that President Muhammadu Buhari did run a good race?
Thank you very much. For benefit of doubt, governance is continuum, and nothing is actually cast in stone. We've seen the mistakes and perhaps inadequacies of this outgoing government. We've seen the applause in areas of infrastructure, railway, road reconstructions, and what have you. But be that as it may, the general economic indices does not indicate that the outgoing government had actually been impressive economically. Many of us knew how much price of commodities were before they came into power. But I believe all that has been put to rest, because every election is a referendum to know if a party or a candidate of a party will be standing tall at the poll. And we've seen the outcome of the election, and the APC was actually voted for ahead of PDP and Labour Party. And those that have reservations are now at the tribunal. So we cannot comment so much about the election. But be that as it may, as a journalist, I believe we've not been too... The outgoing government has not been too impressive economically, which is key indices of any measurement you want to go for any government across the globe. Economic improvement, it has not been impressive, and they can come up with excuses of maybe COVID pandemic, and maybe they were struggling when they took over power in 2015.
Yeah, but the COVID pandemic was not an isolated case. Everybody
across the globe, we had our own peculiar, our own traditional economic problem. You recall that when Buhari became president in 2015, states were struggling to pay salaries, and that was part of the signal, the warnings given by Okonjo-Iweala, the then Minister of Finance, and the former CBN governor, Lamido Sanusi, that we need to remove this subsidy, that there will be a period that Nigerians will be struggling to have their salaries paid. And it came to pass. We saw 2015, 2016, states were being given bailout by the federal government. States were, except about 4 or 5 states, Lagos, Kano, Port Harcourt, Edo also. Also, we've not been seeing an impressive improvement in the economic situation of the states, the vis-a-vis Nigeria at large. Then why we are struggling to actually got out of quagmire of salary, non-payment of salaries and what have you, then we have COVID pandemic in 2020. Before we said Jack Robinson, then we came up with another insurgency in Europe, the Ukraine and the senseless war in Ukraine and Russia, and that affect the global markets and the sanctions there, sanction here. So in all of this, it has not been palatable economically for this outgoing government of Muhammadu Buhari, but we can pocket one or two significant improvement in terms of second Nigeria bridge, elusive second Nigeria bridge over the years. The last one was actually constructed over 40 years ago, 50 years ago. Second Nigeria bridge, Onitsha. We are linking the southeast from Onitsha.
You're talking about the first Nigeria bridge?
Yes. Okay. Now we are having second Nigeria bridge now, constructed by Raji Fashola under Muhammadu Buhari administration. Is a big plus in terms of deliverables in those areas. If you look at the railway, I was when I'm brought up in Lagos, we saw how railways were when we were growing up. One coming from Ebute Metta, Yaba, Ikeja, passing through Agege, going to Ijushaga, going to Akute, going to Abeokuta, Songota, then Abeokuta, then to Ibadan. You saw how people were hanging on train all the way from Ebute Metta, very stuffy. I've had experiences. Yeah, but now we are now having a kind of executive railway that we used to experience. I've been to South Africa, I've been to countries outside this country. We saw how that railway operates, and I think it's a kudos to this government.
Yeah, but then let's look at the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. You know, whenever we attempt to rate how well they have done, there's this their performance in terms of infrastructure is always brought to the fore. Now, there's this popular belief that okay, now let's say we all know how much was borrowed to put into these infrastructures. Now imagine a situation where you borrow some money to construct the Lagos Ibadan expressway. Now the Lagos Ibadan expressway, there is no toll on it, meaning it's almost not generating any source of revenue. Meaning the monies that has been borrowed to fix that road will be paid back from somewhere else. Now, can we use their performance in terms of infrastructure as a metric to generally assess their performance as a government for 8 years, looking at the standard of living of Nigerians? In this past 8 years, we have had over 200% increase in the prices of commodities.
Yes, I tend to agree with you. I share your sentiment. If you look at the general indices of performance, and we will not score these governments high. I will want to score them, in my own opinion, 40%, 40 over 100. We look at improvement of lives and properties is no longer there. We've seen how things that actually nosedive economically, price of commodities especially, and those are the kind of key components of improvement in the economy that you can see across the globe. And it's not as if it's not cherry everywhere, but our own peculiar problem had become something else. So as for me, I'm not too impressive, particularly as regards to economic situation of our country, and the government, outgoing governments, didn't do well at all in that regard. We began to be noticing some certain improvements, but ever since this former Minister of Finance, Kemi Adesoka, left the scene, and the outgoing Minister of Finance, with all due respect, Zainab Ahmed, she has not been impressive at all. I've seen low and low. The only thing we saw from that parastatal finance as a whole was corruption. We saw Accountant General Ahmed Idris accused to have stolen over 70 billion naira
109 billion.
109 billion. 70 billion was actually returned also. So, but just for you to know that the finance as a whole, as components under the presidency of Muhammadu Buhari, they actually they didn't do well at all. So we can't raise the governments in that regard, but just pockets of, like I painted earlier on, pockets of performance in terms of infrastructure. Well, if we want to talk about the loans taken by the government, I'm not too impressive in that regard as well, because what we are seeing is not commensurate with the loans
that has been taken.
Because so far we are talking, if my records are fine, I'm not too good I'm not a financial expert.
77 trillion.
Let's even say 46 or 45 trillion. Let's be modest. 45 trillion loan. What are the things to show off? Railway, Lagos Ibadan Expressway, Second Niger Bridge, and what else? Our schools, what about our health, what about lives, price of commodities, agriculture, insurgency, banditry, and I believe the incoming administration must have been foretold of challenges ahead. It's not going to be cherry. There is no honeymoon for Tinubu presidency. There is no honeymoon. Right from the Eagle School on May 29, God spare our lives. The challenges are enormous to bear, and I believe he should be able to be a wealth creator that we knew him from as a Lagos State governor. He was a wealth creator. He created wealth agencies which have been being replicated across the country. We've seen many states copied Lagos State in terms of mode of governance, and I believe Tinubu should translate that on the national scale, so we can see rapid improvement in our parastatal. Well, it's key. Look at Nigerians. I've never witnessed such exodus of Nigerians travel out from the country. You could see in the last couple of 2 years, especially, thousands of Nigerians. If you look at your phone, just scroll your phone. If you have 100 contacts, 10 of them must have traveled, either to UK, to Canada, to anywhere. It speaks volume about how retarded our economy has become. People are selling off their properties.
We see people who have put in, like, we see now bank managers selling their properties, traveling out of the country to begin to do menial jobs. We now see some Nigerians traveling to what is popularly called the Schengen countries, the Scandinavian countries, all in search of greener pastures. And most recently, the recent restriction on Nigerians coming in to the UK with student visas
and
their dependents. That is still on one side. But then, as we are still looking at the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration, one of his ministers, I'm talking about Baton Fashola. And we all know the role he played a critical role in the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration. And in that regard, he has said that till 12 a.m. Till 12 a.m.
May 28.
May 28,
yes.
That the President Muhammadu Buhari's administration will continue to borrow, will continue to award contracts.
Yes.
Sorry to cut you. Now there's been a lot of 11th hour approvals of some monies that Nigerians are really finding it hard to find a rationale why these monies were delayed to this period. Talking about various court cases, various monies that were awarded by the court all of a sudden, less than a week to leaving the office. Approvals are flying in left, right, and center for these monies to be paid. This is the government that spoke so loudly about cutting down on the cost of governance.
Thank you very much, Francis. People are just being apprehensive unnecessarily, and the government tenure expires May 28th, like Raji Fashola said, and that nobody can force such an argument. You see, government cannot become standstill because they are going. It does not make any sense. And the incoming administration, they will come and have their own time. Yes, the government's expiration is May 28, 12 midnight. By the time they come to power, whoever have gotten an approval, whoever have gotten monies or what have you, governance continues. They will ask questions. It has to be follow suit. That is it. Now, those people that have actually given money, like I think Borno State and one other states got approval, a letter to the Senate to seek approval for the refund of their federal roads that they actually backed upon about, I think, 22 billion or so. That shouldn't be a problem of anybody. Of essence is by the time new administration comes into power, and that money, do you know how government works? When you seek approval, memo are being tabled, is being approved. It's not immediate. It's not immediate transaction like you and I, Francis to Fatah Adesoka. No, it's not an immediate transaction. You go through due process, and before you know, it might be in the next 1 month, 30 days, for 60 days. So it's not something we should worry about. Essence of having an election at the expiration of the hold on is to continue governance. But when Tinubu comes into power, so we now look at the books.
But then we all know the government is a continuum.
Yes.
But this the 9-minute approvals, the 9-minute award of contracts. Don't you think it's making things complicated for a new administration
coming on
that
board,
already have so many things complicated already?
No, not at all. Not at all. Government,
because you just said Tinubu will not be having honeymoon.
Yes.
From the Eagle Square on May 29, immediately after his swearing in, the Nigerians begins to look up to him.
Yes.
Yeah. If I go to bed hungry today and I'm not able to feed myself, I'm not able to feed my family, the name that definitely comes to the mind of everybody is Tinubu.
Yes, I tend to share your sentiment, but be that it be, governance or government cannot become standstill simply because they are actually winding up. And of essence is we've seen how it operates across the globe. And Tinubu coming on board is actually bearing in mind the challenges that are enormous. We saw what happened in Singapore. When Lee Kuan Yew took over in Singapore, it was not cherry. Just like this situation we are in now, the economic downturn and what have you. We saw what happened in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia. We saw what happened in Thailand, in Bangkok. And these are countries that were at par in the 60s and 70s, and they left us in terms of infrastructure, economic improvements. If you don't do it without traveling to Kuala Lumpur as far as Malaysia is, you see what has actually transpired in that country economically. So I believe Tinubu will not be burdening himself on negative past. He will want to actually create a new concept of governance. And before you know it, without even before the incoming administration, because some of us that are journalists are having sort of hope in terms of his capacity to deliver. So what we are interested in is deliverables. So all these 9 minutes has been alleged in some certain contact. Nothing like 9 minutes, 11th hour. Governance cannot be put on hold. Whatever this administration likes to do, they should do. Jonathan did his own and left. But of essence is, we should be hopeful that this incoming administration, when coming on board, will not go back to political Egypt. They will actually be looking forward and see. True. Look at Fashola. Kudos to him. He actually thought out of box. If you look at Lagos by the Expressway, he took Sukuk bond. And Sukuk was one of the simplest mode of bond you can get across the globe. Sukuk, and that road has been there for over 20 years, since time of Adesoka, Minister for Works under Olusegun Obasanjo, from Obasanjo to Yaradua, from Yaradua to Jonathan. So he speak volume, he speak mockery of governance in this country. If 120 kilometers of road could not be restored for more than 20 years. So it speaks volume that we are not serious in this country in terms of leadership. I'm not talking about citizenship. So we are doing our part. But in terms of leadership, they've not been serious. 120 kilometers of road not delivered under 20 years. So those are the things that is going to be changing up. Though there are challenges under Yaradua. Yaradua actually gave it to by company concept by Nigeria under Bali Babalaki. When Jonathan came on board, he cancelled it. The same thing applied to Dangote refinery. Blue Consortium was formed by Femi Otoro and Dangote in 2007. 2 weeks before Baton left, he sold out Port Harcourt refinery to Blue Consortium, owned by Ortedola and Dangote. When Adwa came on board 2 weeks later as well, he cancelled the sale. So we now started dragging. In the last couple of years, Nigeria government has expended over 18 to 20 trillion on subsidy. On subsidy. That alone will fix the whole problem. And 18 to 20 trillion in the last couple of 12 years will solve, if not all, at least 50% of the Nigerian problem in terms of health, in terms of education, either tertiary or secondary. So we've actually been having a lot of wastages. Nigerian problem is not money. A lot of wastages, unnecessary expenditure. That's the truth. Unnecessary expenditure. So that is what we are facing in our country. So we are now looking forward to a leadership that will think inward, thinking outside the box. Creation of wealth. Look at the books. What you can do. No man is perfect. You cannot do it all. But we must see. And the government, incoming government, must ensure economic improvement remains paramount, because lives of having Nigeria must be improved.
Now, talking about, you said something earlier, and I want to pick that to premise my next question on. You talked about, you've spoken so highly about Tinubu's capacity to deliver, his ability to create wealth, and in a few days' time, all of these aspirations, all of these hopes would be right before our very eyes, and we are going to be in a place of trying to assess what to expect. But then let's look at it this way: what are your hopes for the Tinubu's administration, the incoming government in general? What are your hopes for it? What are your expectations from it? And secondly, the imminent Tinubu presidency seems not to be popular among majority of Nigerians.
Thank you very much.
Now let's take it. Let me pick my first question here now. What boxes now do you think Tinubu and his team now need to tick to be able to get Nigerians on their side? Because for all of their efforts to be noticed, for their efforts to be appreciated, the people have to believe in their government.
Thank you very much. You see, people, if you are talking about people believing in government of Tinubu, I believe it's just a relative perception. If you are talking about people, are you talking about Labour Party members? Are you talking about PDP members?
But then both Labour Party, both PDP, they are Nigerians.
Yes.
First, they are Nigerians first before they became Labour Party and PDP members.
What I'm underlining is the partisan perception is even from Nigerian, having Nigerian perception.
Now we are talking about being Nigerian, because
if you are being Nigerian,
because before you became a Labour Party,
yes,
before you became a PDP member, before you became any political party member, you are first in Nigeria.
I'm just pointing out a logic from what you actually proceeded.
Okay.
If you are talking about Nigerian people, if you are talking about Nigeria, and every Nigeria is much more interested in democratic deliverables. They are not interested in the courts. They are not interested in excuses of governance. What are their concerns? Price of commodities, bag of rice at 30,000, security of lives and properties, which is even primary responsibilities of every government. So, and be that as it may, if you are talking about Nigerians' perception, the reason I actually splitted it into two: an average Nigerian or partisanship Nigerian, because we have people. I belong to a certain ideology, apologies of a given political party. It happened in the US. The Democrats and the Republican. So people in the US, some prefer the Democrats, some prefer the Republican, and that was not immune them from being patriotic as American citizens or as British citizens. So,
now you are an apologist of a certain political party.
You are not getting me.
Okay.
You see, an average Nigerian, either political or not, that you must have interest. I voted. So I voted for somebody, for a party I believe in their democratic deliverables, either PDP or Labour Party or SDP or anything. I must vote, and I have voted. Nigerians voted. It was not family compound of Tinubu or Atiku Abubakar that actually declared somebody. So the INEC, statutory body, ensure Nigerian constitution actually pronounced the winner of the election. They were contestable and they are in court. So I actually underline the word Nigerian people are not too okay with Tinubu presidency. That's why I underline that order. If you're talking about the average Nigerian, is it partnership in Nigeria or not? But as for me, Tinubu will hit the ground running. He must. There's no room for excuses. I watched him live yesterday when he was saying, "Oh, I won't disappoint Nigerians," and that is basically there are certain positive provocation conversation we need to be having with the presidency. You must be communicating with Nigerians. That's the truth. That you are aware of our plights. That we will now give you the immediate support. So not that the president will sit there just silence off for 2 months or 3 months without begging him to address us. We can't afford to have that again. We must ensure that leadership is actually accountable for tasks of governance being actually reposed on them. But beyond that, we must start with economic indices that will improve lives of average Nigerians, because Nigerians, things are not rosy for now. That's the truth. Things are not rosy. So Tinubu will come on board, and he must ensure that the leakages, the wastages, enough of that we've had enough. Like the subsidy, look at Dangote refinery. By August, it will be coming on board, and that will actually impact significantly in terms of our forex, because our marketers are struggling for forex to import this fuel from overseas, and that gives a lot of pressure on our forex. And so if we are now refining this crude locally like we're supposed to have been doing, you see the economic improvement, honestly, you cannot just imagine, because the petrochemicals, apart from having aviation fuel, before flight from Lagos to Abuja or from Baton to Abuja was very, very cheap. As at 2011, the Jonathan era, 12, 13, 14. I don't want to promote any airline. It was 10,000, 10, 5, 15 economy, 10, 5, 12, 5, 13, 15,000 on the average. But between 2015 and so, it became something else. Flight today is not even affordable for average Nigeria. So because of the aviation fuel. But if you're not having this crude refined locally, aviation fuel will be in abundance, DPK, kerosene will be in abundance, the gas, and we are buying gas for 12 kg, 10,000, as against 2,800, 3,500, over 150% increase. So with that development, our local consumption will be guaranteed. An average woman who is selling food, if you want to buy a rice of 300 naira, it will be a small portion. But by the time all these things are being taken care of, a rice of 200 naira will be a large portion in your plate. Yeah. So those are the things, the trickle effect to the local market is going to affect us positively. Of essence is, Tinubu must think outside the box. He must. And I believe God spare our lives. You should be able to think in that line.
Azeez, you seem to have deviated from the initial question, because I really wanted to know what your expectations are as regards his presidency, like
the box to tick.
Yeah, the boxes to tick that will bring Nigerians to that space where they feel like they feel like, wow, we may have been wrong after all, or probably we were too quick to judge him, and probably maybe we should give him a chance and see how well he fares. We should give him a chance and watch him, probably give him the benefit of doubt. And since you have talked about it, now let's look at the issue in court right now. Let's look at the tribunal right now. The Court of Appeal, I want to read an excerpt for you here now. The Court of Appeal, Abuja Division, on Thursday slammed a 40 million naira fine on a former presidential candidate Chief Ambrose Albert Owuru for filing frivolous suit seeking to stop the inauguration of the president-elect, Senator Bola Tinubu, on May 29. What are your thoughts on this? Because this is a Nigeria. The court is the last hope of the common man.
Yes.
Talking about the court, quite a number of Nigerians also have their reservation about the credibility of the tribunal itself. And let's not forget the fact that just yesterday the Chief Justice of Nigeria also swore in 39 additional election petition tribunal members. What are your thoughts on this slamming a 40 million fine on a Nigerian who is questioning the election process?
It's not the first time that we are witnessing such. Apart from political matters in courts, if I actually go to court, either as a lawyer or as a plaintiff, bringing frivolous petitions or what have you, I will be slammed with charges at the end of the day. And I believe the court have actually decided what could be termed as frivolities, and we can't be wasting time of the courts. And I cannot say because I don't like Francis Adeniyi, I don't like KAFTAN TV crew, I'll now be blackmailing, or I will just go to court on flimsy. You can't be abusing that grounds. Yes, that's an abuse of court processes. In as much as there's always human error in everything, and you cannot fault the courts. And these are the courts of the land, and the Nigerian judiciary have been landmark. Yes, some of us can have reservations sometimes, but that is what institution actually provided for us. And it has to, in the face of when we are not in Banana Republic, there is law and order. So the courts have decided, and next time one Adesoka or one Francis Adeniyi will not go to court, and the lawyers also must have actually advise their clients, oh, this thing is actually amount of frivolities. So 40 million naira fine, it should be paid by the Ambrose, the former presidential candidate. Yeah, for me, you see, I must appreciate him that he's not turning to become a nuisance on the street of Abuja or anywhere in the country. He actually approached the court, and that is the beauty of democracy. You see, some of us, as young as we were, we witnessed how the agitation for democracy before 1999, and we knew how tormentous it was to have this nascent democracy. We do everything to guide it jealously. That's the beauty of democracy. You can have your view, you can actually criticize the government in as much as you are not calling names. So I can criticize the Buhari government, outgoing government, I can criticize the Tinubu government. So in as much as I'm not calling names. So of essence to us is democratic deliverables. And this democracy, you cannot compare it with any form of governance. It has his own shortcomings. We will get there. The American democracy is over 200 years. When they began, our own democracy is much more better than American democracy. If you look at the history of American democracy, for the first 100 years, it was characterized with assassinations and counter-assassinations. Abraham Lincoln was actually assassinated as a sitting American president. 100 years later, JF Kennedy was assassinated as a sitting American president. So just for you to know where we're coming from. So in all of this, you want to situate that, oh, it is not yet Uru, but we are improving. It's not as if making an excuse for anybody or what have you. But the nature above vacuums. That is somebody has to be sworn in. In 1999, Obasanjo of the PDP versus Olufalaye of the AD, Obasanjo was sworn in, and Falaye was in court. In 2003, Buhari was in court for more than 2 years. Obasanjo was sworn in. In 2007, Yar'Adua was sworn in. Buhari and the likes were in court. In 2011, Jonathan was sworn in. They were in court. So we must not encourage anarchy in the land. You are the anchor. You dictate the pace here in the studio. I can't ask you a question. Definitely. I can't. If I like, I should be 100 years old. You are the anchor. That is Yoruba will say lay down precedents, lay down principles of this, so that there will not be anarchy in the studio. It is what you ask me that you respond to. I can't be telling you my family background. No. We are talking about the press.
Well, we need to talk about the family, your family background. I would ask you what I need to know about your family background. But then you talked about the Dangote refinery. Let's go back there now, because there's no way we'll definitely not talk about it. The Dangote refinery has been commissioned. Very beautiful. Nigerians are talking about it. Africa is talking about it, and the world at large is talking about it. The largest single train refinery in the world, and also the 7th largest refinery of its kind in the world. Now, the commissioning of this refinery, Dangote himself has disclosed that he will be opening as much as 16,000 filling stations across the country, indicating his intention to also go into the retail market of the products from the refinery. But if the refinery, if it begins to operate at full capacity, the projected 650,000 barrels per day, if it begins to operate at full capacity, is there any likelihood of its operation now having a direct impact on the price, on the retail price for Nigerians? Probably a drop in price, or we're looking at an increase in price, because this is not a full government owned venture.
What a valid opinion. You are making sense, and like I painted earlier on, major problem of our energy crisis is refine of the crude overseas. It's because we are refining this crude overseas. When we are refining this crude locally, Warri refinery was working, Port Harcourt refinery, Kaduna refinery, we're not having these perennial problems. Even though under the military, when there is scarcity, we're not hoping abroad, we'll be hoping from Warri. And I was born into a transport family, and I witnessed how tanker drivers actually commuted themselves from Lagos to Kaduna refinery to Warri refinery, even though they were even pumping to NNPC depot at Shagamu in Ogun State, Baton, Apata in Oyo State. So, but as it is, the Dangote refinery is a blessing in disguise, either owned by a private individual or owned by collective investors. It's going to be a plus for us, because price of these petroleum products, that will not be excused, because the charges on importers, let's give kudos to all those importers. Either some of us have reservations or not. When they were importing this fuel, they will pay sea charges, because they are importing from Venezuela, importing from Ghana, importing from Angola, importing from Uganda. They will pay sea charges, because the vessels were passing through certain territories. They will pay
certain territories,
and when they come back, Nigerian government will still charge them. In Apapa, they will charge them. And now imagine, in 21st century, you are now still using the old method. You are now be carrying fuel. And look at the danger on our roads. In Lagos, at Otedola Bridge, near Ojodubaga, oftentimes you have tanker explosion there, claiming lives. In the last couple of 12 months, we've had more than 12 other spots, that Otedola Bridge, coming from 7 up to Ojodubaga. So, had it been enough? This crude is actually being taken from our country, from Lagos, in Port Harcourt, in Warri. That will save us stress. And with Dangote coming on board, the local consumption will be well taken care of. That is why some of us are celebrating. That is why the government herself is celebrating. Because look, you can imagine $1.4 billion turnaround maintenance had been the system since Obasanjo era. We've not seen any improvement in our refineries. We're not working optimally. To be receiver, those are approved contracts for turnaround maintenance for Port Harcourt refinery, Kaduna refinery, over $1.4 billion. And that translates to how much? Almost 800 billion naira. Sometimes when you hear this figure, it are taking care of many things. So how much will it cost us to build another refinery? So we are not serious as a country. We are not serious. I must say with all sense of humility, we are not serious. Because just like I want to eat in the studio and we're expecting food from Lokoja. So that means we are not serious. we are not interested in eating.
So we definitely have to find a way to provide.
Yes, we have to cook. Yes,
in the studio.
Yes, that is it. Our destiny should be in our hands.
Okay,
not open one Venezuela. What have you?
Now, from your submission, now you have answered the question of the availability of the product. Now, the product, we have an assurance that the product will be readily available. Yes. At least to some extent. Now, we won't be looking at. We won't be looking at a situation, at the kind of situation we had all through last year when we experienced some of the worst fuel scarcity.
Never shall we go back to that again.
In like all through my adulthood, I've never experienced that kind of fuel scarcity. And then we experienced the Naira scarcity. We experienced the Naira scarcity also. But then you have responded to the question of the availability of the product. Now the product is readily available, but at what cost for Nigerians?
To be sincere with you, I can't determine the cost because
but what are your projections? What are
private enterprise? My projection will be at least on the average, it can crash down to 150 naira per liter. And 140 naira, 130 naira per liter, because the private entrepreneur wants to make money too. It's not Father Christmas. The Dangote refinery is not for Father Christmas. It's meant for his own business venture. It's a business venture, making money and demonstrating patriotism. And he can actually, if he had actually chosen to sited that kind of refinery in Ghana, in Zambia, in Togo, we cannot hold him. And we still go back to that same Togo or Ghana to go and refine the product there. But it's in our domain here in Lagos, in Ibejuleki, and in all those environments, infrastructure is being affected in terms of rapid development in that axis. So and Lagos State is now increasing its own GDP. Imagine somebody to have sunk $19 billion. $1 billion is about 700 billion in today's money. Times 16. You are talking about trillions of naira in the Lagos economy. And the Chuku effect will transfer to Ijebu-Ode, Epe. Yes, that we are saying Ijebu-Ode, Epe, the Ijebu water side.
I just saw a publication where the immediate past governor of they started trading words that
accusations that it actually began under Otumba Gbenga Daniel in 2008 when Fashola was also Lagos State governor, and they're actually looking for where to site this refinery. So when this person's tenure lapsed, Otumba Gbenga Daniel as governor of Ogun State. So it was even Ondo State inclusive, Olusegun Mimiko, when the appellate court in Benin sacked Olusegun Agagu of the PDP, and Mimiko was actually returned elected. So Olusegun Mimiko versus Gbenga Daniel, Lagos was not even in the picture. So Fashola saw the lacuna and saw the opportunity, and he offered platform for Dangote refinery. Even at that, Fashola as then Lagos State governor didn't find it funny. He had somebody was killed on that land. Mr. Disu. Mr. Disu is a father-in-law to Bella Disu, daughter of Mike Adenuga. The man was killed on the land. They were attacked by those communities until Fashola called for meetings and told them that if you are blocking Dangote on this land, you are not blocking Dangote. You are blocking Lagos prosperity. And if
you're also blocking yourself.
Yes, he told them as governor of Lagos State, the barless at Ibejuleki, because that place is Awori community. They are Elemoro. If you are going to Ibejuleki, going to Aja after Aja Azeez. And so if you are blocking this person, you are not blocking Dangote as an investor. You are blocking Lagos prosperity. And if you drag this further, we will move this to Badagry. So, and they actually key into vision of Lagos State government. They were compensated and they moved on. Today, the success story is well told how Lagos has actually increased her GDP. Lagos will not leave federal government for anything. If Tinubu like spend 100 years as president of our country, Lagos State government will not need the federal government. That's the truth. A tax from these ventures across their states is enough to cater for lives and properties of that state. So that is creation of wealth, which we are expecting Tinubu should actually domesticate on the national scale for us to have democratic deliverables in our country.
Yeah, but we all know that Tinubu's achievement as the Lagos State governor is well documented, and it's his ability to scout for the best talent is something that cannot be emphasized. But then, you know, it's a different ball game entirely when you do it on the state level, taking it to the national level, because you're looking at on the state level, on the averagely you're looking at like, if your state is too populated, we're looking at 5-7 million,
10 million, 15 million,
10 million, 15 million people looking up to you.
Talking about 200 million now.
Now you're talking about 200 million people looking up to you. You are looking at if you fail right now, if you are perceived to have failed, you have failed 200. You have failed over 200 million people, because our time is fast winding down now. And on Monday, there's going to be a paradigm shift.
Yes.
There's going to be Nigeria is going to move to a new era. And let's end it on this note. In 2014, President Muhammadu Buhari campaigned vigorously on the grounds of ensuring that he protects the lives and properties of Nigerians. Before the elections proper, so many speeches by President Muhammadu Buhari where he said promises, where he said, come what may, he is going to ensure that he lives in Nigeria that is free of banditry and terrorism. Obviously, we know that is not the case at the moment. Tinubu's ability to galvanize the economy to create wealth is well documented. But now, what are your projections on his ability in the security sector, in terms of being able to assure Nigerians of the protection of their lives and properties? Because it is only a secured nation that can have hopes of progressing economically.
I tend to agree with you. Security of this country has actually collapsed, particularly since 2009, when we had this emergence of unfortunate insurgency, and during Goodluck Ebele Jonathan versus Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, and it became escalated in 2010-11, witnessing of bomb blast explosion, even in the Abuja here. We saw what happened UN building bomb blast. You saw the Banex Plaza, the Maraba, the Madala, even the attack at the Lucedet's house. The police headquarters. So it's so unfortunate when we have these explosions in the heart of Abuja. And we are looking at Bunyadi, Dapchi, Chibok, Ong, in Adamawa. So those are the unfortunate scenarios we witness, and I believe this government have tried to actually curtail these menace, but we've not seen the significance or whatever. Yes, local government that were actually hosted by these elements. These elements, I don't want to be calling them this, they hosted their flags in some local governments in Adamawa, in Yobe, in Borno, before 2015, and they actually been sacked. They've been pushed over to Sambisa Forest and the likes. So kudos to the Nigerian military gallant men and successive ones. A lot still need to be done, because our people must go back to farms, and those are the kind of measures to be put in place by Tinubu administration.
Yeah, a lot needs to be done. On a final note now, your parting shots, what do you think, what are your projections for Tinubu's ability in that regard?
Yes, President-elect, incoming President Tinubu must look inward, and he should be above board. He must be You must be seen to have high-rich emotional intelligence, and that you must be Nigerian. You must be for all Nigerians, not for Yoruba people, not for Hausa people, not for Igbo people, not for Efik, not for Ibira, not for anybody. You have to be for Nigerians. You are a president of our country, not a president of section of our country. So beyond that, you must look at the security, agriculture, economy, health, and education. All these intertwined together. Because when you look at security, our farmers were able to go to farm. In Benue, in Plateau, we saw what happened in Plateau State, in Mango local government, over 120 people were massacred. By who, we don't know. In Benue, we saw how perennial attack on Benue people. By whose, we don't know. So, and these people did not jump from heaven to go and be attacking people. And those are the key areas of security you need to look into. So our people, we know Benue, we know Benue yam, food basket of the nation. So the Benue people cannot go to farm again. The same thing in Belikin-Ladi, in Bukuru, in Jos, they cannot go to farm. The same thing apply in Okeogun, in Oyo State, in Ogun, in Adamawa. So we must ensure security of lives and properties. And the banditry issue in Kaduna and in Zamfara, especially in Katsina. So those are the things, because you have to localize your security. The locals must be involved in the security of their areas.
Talking about localization of our security, that would have taken us to the issue of community policing. But our time has played a very, very fast one on us. It has been a very, very engaging moment, and I must say a very big thank you to you for sparing out your time to be with us on the show today. From all of us at KAFTAN TV, we are saying a very big thank you to you, and we do hope to have you again on the show some other time.
God spare our lives. God bless our country. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
All right, now viewers at home, Azeez has promised to return again some other time, and it is on this note we are going to draw the curtain on today's episode of the Press, your #1 newspaper program, and for the week also. And this is where we end the show. And as we go for our weekends, let's ensure to take all necessary security precautions. If you're going to drink, do not drive. If you're driving, do not drink. From here, from all of us at KAFTAN TV, and from the crew behind the scene, Daniel, Gerald, everybody, we are saying a very big thank you for all of your efforts, and the production manager, everybody, we are saying a very big thank you to you for all of your efforts to ensuring a successful program. From here, my name is Francis Adeniyi. Do also have a beautiful weekend ahead.